Good morning, Tulsa. Larry Walker here, right here at the Tulsa Insurance Group in the Farm Shopping Center at 51st and Sheridan. And as always, at the end of this video, if you like it, please push that like button down at the bottom. If you think it would be beneficial for your friends or family, just share it on your social media and make sure that they get a chance and opportunity to see it. I'll try to keep it to a minimum like I do all of my videos, but I wanted to give you some information today on two questions, and they're right here on this board. Do I need flood insurance, and do I need earthquake insurance? Well, let me say the first thing that I always say to my customers or anyone else when they say, do I need a certain kind of insurance? And the answer to that question simply, without really trying to be sarcastic, I'm really not trying to be sarcastic at all, is if you have a flood, then you're going to need the insurance. If you have an earthquake that's going to damage your home, then you need the insurance. But the question is, we don't know. So that's where risk comes in. And you as the consumer, the agent cannot tell you the answer to that question, whether you should buy it or not. You as the consumer must decide, do I want to take that risk or do I not want to take that risk? As we well know here in Tulsa, most recently we had major flooding that doesn't happen very often. And some people took a risk of not buying flood insurance because their home has never flooded. Some in the whole time they've lived there, some 30 years, some 40 years. But now, this time they got flooded and didn't have proper coverage. So that's a really difficult question for an insurance agent to answer. If you're going to ask an insurance agent, should I have this type of insurance? Obviously it's on your mind, and the answer the agent probably should give you is yes, you should. If it's bothering you and you have a concern about it, then somewhere in the back of your mind you think there may be a risk and you probably should try to cover that risk. So, do I need flood insurance? Do I need earthquake insurance? It depends. And what it depends on is if you ever have a claim, then obviously you need it. So let's talk a little bit about it. Let's talk a little bit about pricing points, and let's talk a little bit about whether you should buy it or not, and you make the decision. First of all, on flood insurance right here. If you live in a flood zone and you have a loan on your home, your company, your bank, your lending officer, your loan company is probably going to make you buy it anyway because they want their assets covered in the event that it's flooded. If you don't live in a flood zone, then the bank probably is not going, your loan officer, your loan originator is probably not going to make you buy it, and it's going to be optional for you. But let me say this, just because you do not live in a flood zone, as we learned recently, doesn't mean you can't flood. Some people say, yeah, but I live in a 1% flood zone. Well, that means there's a 1 in 1% chance that I'll flood. No, what that really means is that once in every 100 years, that property or that land that you're living on can probably flood, as a possibility of it flooding. And we don't know when the last time that it was. And we also don't know Mother Nature. Sometimes Mother Nature may flood that property 2 years in a row. It may flood it 3 years in a row. Then it may not flood it for another 200 years. We just don't know. So just because you do not live in a flood zone doesn't mean you shouldn't have it. Now here's the way the price points work on it. The way the price points work on it is if you do not live in a flood zone, you're going to pay a lot lower price, obviously, than if you do live in a flood zone. What that amount's going to be, we can't tell you off the top of our head. You know, I've seen premiums as low as $300 a year all the way up to $2,500 a year for those who live in a flood zone, and everywhere in between those two amounts. So what you need to do is you need to decide, first of all, go to the National Flood Program or go to your agent's office. Your agent should be willing to do this with you. Go online with your agent sitting there and let them show you on the map on their computer. If they don't know how to do that, then they need to learn how to do that. To go to the National Flood website, and there's a map, and you just type in your zip code and it shows you a photograph of the zone that you live in and how close the flood zone is to you and all those factors, and you look at it and you decide, and you get the price from your agent and you decide, do I want to pay this or do I not want to pay this, or do I want to take the risk and not have it? The problem is, if you don't have it and you get flooded, it's all on you. There's nothing anybody can do for you, because homeowners policies, a normal homeowner policy, does not cover flood. There's not any homeowner policy that I know of out there that covers flood. You either have to buy it through the National Flood Program, which all the major carriers have that available through the National Flood Program, and there's even private flood companies now that are writing flood insurance, and your agent should be shopping those prices for you depending on which one has the best rate and the rating, of course, of the insurance company. Secondly, earthquake insurance. Should I have earthquake insurance? Well, there's been an uptick of earthquakes in Oklahoma for quite some time now. There's not as much now as there was. Whether it had anything to do with the fracking or not that they were doing a few years ago, I have no idea. I'm not a geologist, and I don't know any of that stuff, or whatever they call those guys that do the floods, not the floods, but the earthquakes, that study earthquakes. I don't know. I really don't know what's caused them, and really it doesn't matter. The fact is, we have earthquakes in Oklahoma, and there are some companies that still offer an earthquake endorsement on the homeowner's policy, and I say some. It's very, very few. As a matter of fact, I can count on one hand the number of companies that still offer that endorsement that I know of, and the ones that do, it's a very limited coverage. Most of them will not cover major cracks in your mortar. And so the best thing for you to do in Oklahoma, in my opinion, as an insurance advisor, is to buy a separate earthquake policy. They're not very expensive right now in the Tulsa County area at all. And you can get them at a decent price, and they will cover everything. They will cover the cracks in your brick and mortar. If you get the right policy, I should say. You need to check with your agent. Let me throw that disclaimer in there about what it does and does not cover. The one that I write, at least, will cover the mortar. It will cover pretty much everything that needs to be covered under that earthquake event, up to a stated limit. So and there's a deductible. There's a deductible that applies on the flood insurance typically. There's also a deductible that applies on the earthquake insurance typically as well. But for most insurance companies, this is not covered on the homeowner's policy, even as an endorsement. Most companies don't offer it anymore. They offer a separate policy. So do I need those two coverages? If I'm a homeowner, I have them. If I'm not a homeowner, of course, it's not going to matter to me at that point because I don't own the property. But I want to know, if I'm a homeowner, that my risks are covered. That's me. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know whether that's something you want to do or not, but it's certainly something I'd be interested in talking to you about. I don't know who you are. Your agent may be, but you're welcome to call me and talk to me no matter whether you're my customer or not. I'll try to answer your questions. I'll do my best to serve you in any way that I can. Just give me a call here at the Larry Walker Agency, Tulsa Insurance Group, 918-298-0000. I know there's a lot of questions left unanswered because I just don't have time in the video to cover them all. I just want to give a general covering of the topic. So call me and ask me, 918-298-0000, or you can get online at tulsainsurancegroup.com at our website. Send me a message and be glad to answer any questions you have. Remember, like the video if you thought it was informational for you, and share it on social media if you think someone might get something out of it and benefit from it. God bless. Have a good day, Tulsa.